Hello, guys. I'm going to tell you more about that story about Papa, here comes a preacher man. Anyway, here's how it went. My dad, he continued to go there every week to visit Willie, Big Willie, and give him his Bible study every single week. I don't think my dad missed a week, and Big Willie, he sat there and he listened very carefully, and he started to learn the whole doctrine, all the doctrinal teachings. He started to get quite familiar with it. He actually studied it when my dad wasn't there, and he got to know. And him and my dad got to be real good friends, They started sometimes going on fishing trips together, And Big Willie, he'd bring along Little Willie, and we started going on outings and stuff, and going. And he started to attend the church my dad goes to. So time progressed, and my dad got to meet Big Willie's wife. Her name was Audrey. She was a big woman, but it wasn't. She wasn't shaped like a pear. She was kind of like shaped more like her shoulders were wider than her waist, and her legs were kind of muscular but not real big, and she was a big woman, and she was shaped a little bit different, like not bad but different, and her shape was a little bit different, and also. She didn't hang around the house very often. You didn't see her very often. But she's a very nice woman, like Big Willie was, and her name was Audrey. So, what happened was, my dad started to get really into raising papaya plants from seeds. He got seeds. He'd eat a papaya at the supermarket, and he'd collect these seeds from the papaya plant, and he'd put them in empty tin cans, and he had about a dozen growing across the windowsill, and a dozen growing out in the back room, and about a dozen. He had about 3 dozen of these papaya plants, and he was going to plant them in the garden and grow papayas. He was really into this, really enjoyed growing them. Well, the thing was I got a picture here, and this is of a young papaya plant. Right? I know what you guys thought it was. But you're wrong. It's a picture of a young papaya plant. This is what they look like, the young papaya plants. And my dad had them in these tin cans and stuff. So one afternoon during the study, he got talking to Big Willie, and he said, I'm really into these papaya plants. They're awfully good for you. Now, my father, he was into health food and stuff, and he was trying to get Willie to stop smoking. And he told Willie, he said, listen, all you got to do to stop smoking is take a glass of water and put a half a teaspoon of baking soda in it and stir it up and drink it. And he said it'll stop you from having cravings for cigarettes. My dad told Willie. Now, I don't know where my dad had heard this, but it might have just had a placebo effect. What that is when somebody believes something and believes in something so much that it actually does work. But Willie had been doing this. Every time he'd get a craving for a cigarette, he'd go running into the kitchen, pour himself a glass of water, and put a half a teaspoon of baking soda in it. The man must have been just full of bacon. I don't know. Anyway, he said it worked. Big Willie said it works. And sure enough, Big Willie was able to stop smoking. He quit smoking. Maybe he really wanted to quit smoking because the church required that. They don't like smoking, and they won't allow it. If you smoke there, you can't be one of them in the church, Anyway, that's the way it is. I think it is that way to this day. I'm not sure. I don't think they... Anyway, I haven't been in a long time to that church, so I think that's still the way with that church. So Willie, he was tapering off the cigarettes, and he got off of them with the baking soda business. So then my dad said to him, papayas, Willie, are awful good for you. He said, He said, I'm starting to grow them, and I'm really into growing these papayas and stuff, and he was talking to Willie for about 10 minutes about the virtue of papaya. And he says, I want to bring you a few plants, papaya plants. Willie says, oh, yeah, okay, it sounds good, Brother Glenn. Bring me a few of these papaya plants. I wouldn't mind trying it out and growing a few in the backyard and eating them. He says, that sounds good. So Glenn says, okay, I'll bring them over and I'll let them off in a couple days. So a couple days went by. My dad drove these papaya plants in. He went marching into the backyard holding about 3 tin cans full of papayas in each hand, Big smile on his face, and these young papaya plants. He had about 3 in each hand, or maybe 4 in each hand, of these tin cups. He had his finger down in the tin cup on each one. He just put them between his fingers, and picked them up. And there was 4 plants in each hand in these tin cans. And there he went marching with these tin cans around the backside of Willie's house to drop them off, So he put them on the rear porch next to the door. And he marched back to the car with a big smile on his face. Willie's gonna love these papayas, And he got in the car and he drove off. So that nearly a week passed by. And Glenn went to his study. My dad went to his study and studied with Willie. And Willie didn't mention anything about the papaya plants, The following week come. And Willie said to him, he said, do you know what? He said, Audrey, 2 weeks ago, you left those papaya plants here, he said to my dad. My dad said, yeah, I did, about 8 plants out in the back of your porch out there. Willie said, yeah, he said, do you know what? He said, my wife Audrey came along and found those plants. He said, and he said she immediately took them. And he said, I never saw them. He said, for a week. He said, over a week and a half. She took them, and he said she put them out. And she's very careful with them, and she was taking tender loving care with those plants. He said she was really taking care of them really well. He said because he started talking to Glenn. He says, Glenn. He says, Brother Glenn, he says, you know that my wife misidentified those plants. He said, she thought they were something else, and that's why she was taking such good care of them, Brother Glenn. So anyway, Audrey had found the plants. She didn't know anything about the conversation that my dad had had with Willie about papayas. Audrey found the plants on the back porch and thought it was a gift from God. No, not really, but that's basically the size of it. She thought it was the most wonderful thing she's ever seen in her life because they do look like a different kind of plant if you look at them real quick. You're almost automatically. And she was taking really good care of those plants. Anyway, so Willie told her. He said what they really were. He told her what they were. So time progressed, and Willie hit the point then when he was going to actually do what's called getting baptized into the church, So they have what's called assemblies, where they all go together from all these different congregations and meet all together, and there's 5,000 Jehovah's Witnesses in one big auditorium, and that's where they have their baptism. And the baptism is pretty standard. It's according to, they dunk them under the water and stuff and bring them up, and then they're supposed to be baptized into the church. So it was Willie's turn, He get in there. And Willie is shaped a bit like Audrey. Quite seriously, big heavy top, big heavy up near the shoulders, and narrows down waist, kind of a big belly, and then real thin legs, Anyway, for some reason or another, they had trouble dunking him under, getting all of him under. I think they had to do it like 3 times. His legs kept popping up or whatever. His long legs. Anyway, finally they got it done. Anyway, so Willie was in the church. And every Saturday, then Willie and Glenn were going out in what's called service together. You know, they were getting in the same car group and everything, and they're going out in service together. So I was with them in the same car group, you know, and we were going out in service together. And we went into this posh neighborhood, you know. Now, what I mean by posh, that's a kind of a British term. It means luxurious neighborhood, you know, like near a golf course, and it had the great big cement block houses, and like these were like 5 bedrooms, 3 bath homes, you know, and 2-car garage, and all like brick like over top of the cement blocks, bricks, you know, and brick facing across at least across all the front, you know, and swimming pools in the back, screen porch, you know, all in the back with a big swimming pool, you know, and a nice concrete driveway, and on like an acre-sized piece of land that borders on a golf course, you know, these homes, like, and there was about 8 homes there that bordered on the golf course. So I was down on the other side of the road, working on the other side of the road with my mother, doing from door to door, knocking on these doors, you know. Anyway, what happened was, as I was looking across, I heard this awful commotion. It sounded like a pack of dogs. And some woman up on top of the hill yelling, "Sick 'em, boys! Sick 'em, boys!" She was yelling at one of these expensive homes. She was yelling, "Sick 'em, boys!" And it was a quiet morning, you know. It was like 8 o'clock in the morning, these neighborhoods are quite quiet, you know. And my pop and Willie were up on the top of the hill there. She was yelling, "Sick 'em, boys!" And I seen all these dogs barking, about a dozen dogs barking. And I seen up at the top of the hill, my dad running for it with his book bag behind him. He was quite literally right. And Willie was right hot on his heels, and Willie's big long legs are just striding, you know. And then this pack of dogs chasing them both down the street. Quite seriously, this woman has sicked a whole bunch of Doberman pinchers and German shepherds. About 5 of them. There was like 3 big German shepherds, and there was like 2 Doberman pinchers chasing them down the street. And the dogs were right hot on Willie's heels. I'm telling you, those legs were just a-moving. And the 2 of them outran those dogs. They had to run about a quarter mile before the dogs all turned around and started to head back home again. They actually outran them. I always have that memory. That was really something else. So I had some good times, you know, down there in Florida, but that was about the worst I ever seen. She quite literally sicked her dogs on my pop and Willie. And I'll tell you about Willie. Willie was the calmest, most gentle man you ever seen in your life. He was a real gentleman, you know. Him and my dad were good friends for a good long time until my dad moved back up to Canada, you know, and Willie stayed in Florida. And what I heard about Willie is he didn't live real long, you know. He got some sort of a kidney condition or something like that, where he, I guess, needed dialysis or something. Anyway, something killed him, you know, like that, prematurely. Didn't get to be a real old man, you know. He was younger than my dad, you know, by maybe five years or something, you know, a little bit younger than my dad. You know, my dad's 87 now, you know, so Willie would, if he was still alive, he'd probably be in his 80s, you know. But that was a long time ago, because Willie and my dad, you know, were still young enough and spry enough. My dad was still spry enough where he could do a 100-yard dash in pretty darn quick time, too, beat a dog. Anyway, listen, thank you guys for listening. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys in the next show. Bye-bye.